Across the U.S., millions face the harsh reality of homelessness, and Arizona, known for its stunning landscapes and vibrant cities, is seeing this crisis grow rapidly. Behind the beauty lies a struggle many never see. In this documentary, we dive into the causes, current conditions, impacts, and possible solutions to homelessness in Arizona. From rising housing costs to the lack of support services, we uncover what's driving this issue and what can be done to change it. Before we begin, like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to Unknow for more powerful stories that reveal the unseen side of our world. Homelessness goes far beyond the simple absence of a roof overhead. It is a complex, multidimensional crisis rooted in socioeconomic and psychological turmoil. While most people picture homelessness as sleeping on park benches or living in tents, the reality stretches much deeper. It includes individuals couch surfing with friends, families living in cars, and those cycling through shelters without stability. At its core, homelessness often stems from economic instability. Job loss, rising housing costs, and wage stagnation push people to the margins. But layered atop these financial struggles are deeper psychological dimensions. Untreated mental health conditions, trauma, and substance use disorders often exacerbate the cycle. What makes this crisis even more urgent is its reach. It does not discriminate. Homelessness affects people of all ages, races, genders, and backgrounds, from veterans and single parents to young adults aging out of foster care. It reflects systemic failures, not just personal misfortune, and underscores the urgent need for holistic solutions that address both the visible and invisible scars it leaves behind. Understanding homelessness in this broader context is crucial. It's not just a housing issue, but a profound social challenge shaped by inequality, vulnerability, and a lack of access to critical support systems. Arizona's homelessness crisis has reached alarming proportions, reflecting a broader national trend, but with uniquely harsh regional challenges. Across cities like Phoenix and Tucson, the numbers tell a sobering story. Encampments have surged by over 450%, and nearly 1,000 people now live unsheltered in a concentrated area of downtown Phoenix, known as the Zone. This district has become a symbol of systemic neglect, where tents line sidewalks and basic human needs go unmet. Arizona also ranks disturbingly high in human trafficking and sexual exploitation statistics, underscoring the vulnerability of unhoused individuals, especially women and youth, to predatory networks. Geographic hotspots have emerged throughout the state, with Scottsdale becoming a case study in displacement due to skyrocketing housing prices. As affluent development expands, low-income renters are pushed out, further swelling the unhoused population. Within the Zone, the living conditions are deeply precarious. Residents face searing desert temperatures that can top 110 degrees Fahrenheit, alongside chronic food and water shortages. Personal safety is another daily concern, with violence, theft, and sexual assault compounding already dire circumstances. Hygiene facilities are virtually non-existent, contributing to the spread of illness and deteriorating health. The toll on both physical and mental well-being is immense, creating a cycle of trauma and instability that becomes harder to escape with each passing day. The roots of homelessness in Arizona are deeply entangled in a web of economic, social, and systemic challenges. One of the most pressing drivers is the staggering rise in housing costs. Phoenix alone has seen rental prices soar by 177%, far outpacing wage growth. This widening gap between income and rent has made even modest housing unattainable for many working individuals and families. Population growth and urbanization. Compounding the issue are restrictive zoning laws and development barriers that stifle the creation of affordable housing options, leaving low-income populations with few viable choices. Meanwhile, Arizona's rapid population growth and urban expansion have intensified housing competition. As more people flock to cities like Phoenix and Scottsdale, demand skyrockets, straining infrastructure and pushing vulnerable residents further toward displacement. Social factors also play a critical role in sustaining homelessness. Substance abuse and social factors. Substance abuse, often both a cause and consequence of life on the streets, intersects with other vulnerabilities such as untreated mental illness, domestic violence, and the revolving door of incarceration. These compounding issues make stability an elusive goal. Furthermore, the lack of comprehensive support systems only deepens the crisis. Lack of comprehensive support services, access to healthcare, addiction treatment, mental health services, and job training remains limited, especially for those without permanent addresses. Navigating assistance programs often involves bureaucratic red tape, and many are chronically underfunded or lack outreach capacity. Without holistic, integrated solutions that address these overlapping causes, homelessness in Arizona will remain a persistent and growing challenge, one that demands both policy reform and community-driven action. The impacts of homelessness ripple far beyond the individuals experiencing it, affecting entire communities, economies, and public systems. On a personal level, homelessness inflicts profound damage on physical and mental health. Without consistent access to medical care, treatable conditions like hypertension, diabetes, and respiratory illnesses often go unmanaged, deteriorating rapidly under harsh outdoor conditions. Mental illness becomes both a cause and a casualty. Stress, anxiety, and depression are heightened by the constant instability, and pre-existing psychiatric disorders frequently go untreated. Living without shelter also means living without safety. Individuals face relentless exposure to theft, physical violence, sexual assault, and other crimes, often with little protection or recourse. The emotional toll of this constant threat, combined with social isolation and stigma, creates deep psychological trauma that can persist long after a person is housed. Impact on communities. But the impacts do not stop there. Communities bear the weight of systemic consequences. Homelessness often coincides with a rise in crime and drug-related activity, not necessarily due to the homeless population itself, but from predatory behavior that targets them and the illicit economies that emerge in underserved areas. Public safety concerns intensify, placing a heavy burden on law enforcement and emergency responders, who are frequently tasked with crisis intervention rather than long-term solutions. Emergency rooms become default care centers, straining healthcare infrastructure and diverting resources from broader community needs. Economic consequences. Economically, neighborhoods affected by visible homelessness often see declining property values and reduced business activity. Tourism, vital in cities like Phoenix and Scottsdale, can also take a hit when public areas appear neglected or unsafe. Meanwhile, infrastructure faces hidden costs, increased wear on public facilities, more frequent sanitation needs, and environmental degradation caused by unsanitary encampments, litter, and waste accumulation in parks, waterways, and streets. Environmental impact. The environmental impact becomes yet another layer in a growing crisis, highlighting how homelessness is not an isolated problem, but a deeply interconnected issue that affects the health, prosperity, and livability of the entire community. Addressing homelessness requires more than temporary fixes. It demands a comprehensive, multi-pronged strategy rooted in prevention, rehabilitation, and long-term stability. One of the most critical steps is expanding the supply of affordable housing. Traditional shelters, while vital in emergencies, cannot replace permanent housing solutions. The development of social housing, modular units, and tiny home communities offers scalable, cost-effective alternatives that can be rapidly deployed to meet growing needs. Financial aid programs, including rent subsidies and housing vouchers, can also play a pivotal role in preventing vulnerable individuals from falling into homelessness in the first place. Enhancing support services. But housing alone isn't enough. Sustainable change hinges on robust support services. Expanding access to mental health care, substance abuse treatment, and job training programs can help break the cycle of instability. Holistic rehabilitation models that blend therapy, skills training, and transitional employment opportunities offer a path toward reintegration and self-sufficiency. Rehabilitation and substance abuse programs. Equally important are targeted investments in substance abuse recovery and outreach services. Recovery centers, mobile crisis teams, and integrated care models that combine medical treatment with housing support create a foundation for long-term wellness. Rather than treating health and housing as separate issues, successful programs recognize the interdependence of both and provide coordinated care tailored to each individual's needs. On a broader scale, policy reform and community collaboration are essential drivers of lasting impact. State and local governments must streamline regulations to encourage affordable housing development, optimize the use of federal funds, and prioritize homelessness prevention in urban planning. Policy and community collaboration. Community-based organizations and public-private partnerships can bridge critical service gaps, fostering resource efficiency and localized innovation. These collaborations not only leverage diverse funding streams, but also deepen engagement and trust within communities. Ultimately, solving homelessness requires a united front, one where housing, healthcare, employment, and social services intersect to build resilient systems that support dignity, opportunity, and equity for all. In Arizona, state and local governments have begun implementing a multi-pronged strategy to address homelessness, emphasizing both immediate relief and long-term solutions. A cornerstone of this initiative is the state's Coordinated Response Plan, which integrates affordable housing development with wraparound support services, ranging from mental health care to workforce training, to ensure individuals not only secure shelter, but also regain stability. Strategic fund allocation further strengthens this model by prioritizing high-impact areas and underserved populations. Programs like Shelters to Shutters. Greater Phoenix exemplify this approach, facilitating a seamless transition from temporary shelter to permanent housing, while fostering self-sufficiency through employment opportunities in property management sectors. Recognizing that prevention is as critical as intervention, Arizona has also expanded eviction prevention efforts through rent and utility assistance programs aimed at helping vulnerable households remain housed during financial hardship. Administrative streamlining plays a vital role in accelerating aid delivery, cutting red tape, and reducing bureaucratic lag times that often hinder access to essential services. These efficiencies have made it easier for individuals to navigate support systems without facing prolonged delays or unnecessary hurdles. To ensure transparency and continuous improvement, the state has established robust monitoring and accountability mechanisms, including performance audits and data-driven evaluations that assess the impact and reach of each initiative. These measures allow policymakers to adjust programs in real time, ensuring resources are directed where they are most needed. Taken together, Arizona's comprehensive approach reflects a shift toward sustainable solutions that address the root causes of homelessness, not just the symptoms. By blending policy innovation, community partnerships, and targeted investments, the state aims to create a more resilient safety net for its most vulnerable residents, paving the way for systemic change rather than temporary fixes. Arizona's evolving response to homelessness is increasingly defined by innovation and community collaboration. One emerging solution is the development of tiny home villages, compact, cost-effective dwellings that serve as transitional housing for individuals working toward permanent stability. These villages not only offer shelter, but also foster a sense of dignity and autonomy, often accompanied by communal spaces and on-site services to promote reintegration. In parallel, technology is becoming a vital tool in resource navigation. Mobile apps and digital platforms now help unhoused individuals locate nearby shelters, food distribution points, health clinics, and employment opportunities, reducing information gaps that have long hindered access to assistance. On the ground, grassroots movements are gaining momentum, filling critical gaps with a human-centered approach. These volunteer-led efforts often reach those who fall through the cracks of formal systems, offering personalized outreach and practical support. Organizations like Billy's Way Home exemplify this community-driven spirit, providing not just food and clothing, but also emotional support that builds trust and connection. This combination of tech-driven solutions and neighborhood-level compassion represents a growing shift toward a more holistic and inclusive response, one that recognizes the value of both structural reform and person-to-person care in addressing homelessness. Education and awareness. Education and awareness have become essential components in reshaping how society understands homelessness. Empathy-driven campaigns are being launched across Arizona to break down harmful stereotypes and foster a deeper understanding of the human experiences behind homelessness. These initiatives go beyond statistics, using storytelling to highlight individual journeys, often through travel documentaries, photo essays, and immersive video narratives that follow people navigating life on the margins. By putting faces and voices to the issue, these stories stir emotional resonance and prompt viewers to question preconceived notions. In classrooms, community centers, and online platforms, educators and advocates are leveraging these tools to emphasize that homelessness is not a distant anomaly. It is a shared societal vulnerability that can affect anyone given the right set of circumstances, such as a job loss, medical emergency, or housing crisis. This shift in narrative is crucial in cultivating public empathy and building support for systemic change. As more people recognize homelessness as a structural challenge rather than a personal failing, advocacy efforts gain momentum and policies become more inclusive. In this way, education becomes not just a form of outreach, but a catalyst for social transformation, bridging the gap between awareness and action. Ninth, employment opportunities. Employment remains one of the most powerful tools in breaking the cycle of homelessness, and Arizona is increasingly recognizing the need for workforce initiatives tailored specifically to this population. Vocational training programs are being redesigned to meet people where they are, offering flexible schedules, hands-on learning, and industry-relevant certifications in fields like culinary arts, construction, and healthcare. These programs not only equip individuals with practical skills, but also restore a sense of purpose and capability. Local businesses are stepping into the fold as critical partners, creating employment pathways through apprenticeships, transitional work programs, and inclusive hiring practices. These collaborations help bridge the gap between training and stable income, allowing individuals to rebuild their lives on a foundation of self-reliance. employment becomes more than a paycheck. It represents dignity, identity, and social reintegration. For many, returning to work is a turning point, sparking newfound confidence and opening doors to housing, healthcare, and community connection. By investing in economic empowerment alongside housing solutions, Arizona is crafting a more holistic response to homelessness, one that values not just survival, but long-term success. In this framework, jobs are not just a goal. They're a stepping stone toward lasting independence and meaningful participation in society. If you found this content insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Unknown Travel. Your engagement helps amplify voices that matter and supports ongoing efforts to raise awareness about critical social issues. Together, we can spark meaningful change. Join the movement to make a difference. One story, one action, one community at a time.